I'm your host, Jason Tartick, and welcome to Trading Secrets. We talk all things money on this podcast, and we're teaching all the stuff we just weren't taught in the classroom. Nothing supports this show more than liking, commenting, and of course, subscribing. Welcome back to another episode of Trading Secrets. Today's guest is a fan favorite from season 3 of Farmer Wants a Wife, the one and only John Sansone. John isn't just the guy who brought heart, honesty, and a little Southern charm to the show. He's also part of a proud legacy helping run his family's 5th generational farm, a place that's been in his family for decades. On top of that, he is also currently a graduate law student looking to dip his toes in the world of law and order. From early mornings in the fields to late night fireside chats on national television, John gave us a glimpse into what it means to balance love, land, and legacy. We're going to talk about his journey to love, life after the cameras stop rolling, and what it's really like to share your heart and your family's farm with America. All the inside scoop and Trading Secrets. John, thank you so much for being on Trading Secrets.
Thanks for having me. I mean, what an incredible intro.
There you go.
Sounded right out of a pamphlet.
You just straight out of a pamphlet. You deserve it. And first and foremost, I got to start off, dude. Congratulations, you and Claire.
Thank you.
Let's go.
Yeah, pumped.
Very
pumped.
Did you ever expect to enter a show like this and then actually come out with someone that you care this deeply about?
Oh, I mean, God, no. I can tell you from the start, I went into it with the secondary idea that I was actually going to walk out of it with somebody that I actually liked. That came second.
Okay.
And then
what came first?
What came first is, it's an insane opportunity to do something new, to walk on this new frontier and possibly make something out of it. And I was like, if I happen to find a wife, great. If I don't, so what,
Okay.
So I walked out of it with Claire, and honestly, I like her a lot. I was very happy with the picks, and just excited to see where we go from here.
I mean, I always talk about this on The Bachelor. It's like the Bachelor bubble. In hometowns, I said that I loved the girl who was the Bachelorette. And I think in that moment, if you put a gun to my head and you said, do you really love her? I'm like, yeah, I did. Yeah. But then you get out of the bubble, you're like, whoa, what was that? Your brain gets a little bit put in a different perspective in that world. You're out of that world now. You're with Claire. Do you love Claire? Are you in love with Claire?
Well, I'm not going to get into all that. But I think for now that stuff's going to stay behind closed doors, and her and I will, discuss that and say if we need to each other. But yeah, you're right. It is like a bubble, especially after filming. I think we had about 6 months of basically hiding our relationship. Yeah. And it's tough because, we can't see each other all the time. She lives in Chicago. I'm in St. Louis. Granted, it's close. But, I took a semester off for law school for the show, and then afterwards I had to go back to school. So I was doing that. She was working. A lot of time where we just couldn't see each other.
So in 6 months, I love comparing kind of different reality shows, especially with dating. The Bachelor was pretty quick. Well, they'll film for 3 months, not a month. You guys film for a month, right?
A month.
And then they'll get it out usually within 2-3 months. So then you have to do these things called Happy Couples Weekend, where you privately go into a sanctuary and have your time together and spend the weekends together or weeks. Do you how did you guys even see each other without being caught?
Well, the nice thing was that the production was able to fund a couple trips for us. I went to Chicago a few times, and we just, hung out there and hung out in local areas and stuff where we weren't going to be seen a lot. And then one of the highlights of it is they actually gave us a full funded trip to Tulum.
Sweet.
Which was nuts. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. And I posted a TikTok while I was there and everything, and people were like, who's filming that? I think that was a little bit of speculation, but yeah, the Tulum trip was badass.
That is awesome. Yeah. Well, I will say in the 6 months you have everyone fooled.
Yeah.
Because when I told people that you're coming on, when I did, it had yet to be announced that you and Claire were together. And so people were like, I listened to the Kristen Cavallari podcast. People are like, did they hook up? This is the most single, most eligible. People were like, will he be the next Bachelor? All these things. So you did a good job kind of playing into this I'm a farmer, I'm single, I'm doing my thing.
Yeah. That was the goal. They basically, that was the trade-off. You know, they fund all these trips, and then I got to put on a face.
You got to play the game.
I played the game.
You played the game. One of the things you said is like number 2 in looking at this whole thing was like you'd actually come out with a significant other. Number 1 being opportunity. Before the show started, like and by the way, I want to put this out there. Yeah. I don't think anybody today goes on reality TV, any form of unscripted, without opportunity being the first or second thing. Like anyone who says otherwise is lying. But I do think that opportunity differs for everyone. So like what was in your vision? What did opportunity look like when you're like, yeah, let's do Farmer Wants a Wife?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've seen people go on reality TV and stuff and walk out of it with, you know, major long-term brand deals or something like that. Or like, for instance, you started this podcast and all this stuff. So, you know, there were so many different avenues that somebody could take from it. And let alone, it's just like, it's another thing to throw on the resume that gets people talking. Like say, you know, I'm in law school. I want to go to a big firm or something. A lot of them are obviously going to look at how well you did in school and what kind of legal experience. But then like a big factor of the hiring process is, can they get along with you, or there's something to talk about? So that's something.
Yeah. Interesting. Were you at all like worried about the impact that this could, like, as someone who's like a 5th generational farmer, and we'll get into the farming business, everybody, but then also going to law school, were you worried about what reality TV could possibly do to your actual professional career and trajectory for the negative?
Yeah, 100%. It took me about a month of back and forth, talking to people, going through it with my dad, praying about it, to actually decide to go. Okay. It was basically just jumping off a cliff and not being able to see the bottom.
That's a good comparison.
I mean, luckily, it's all turned out well so far. Hopefully it stays that way, but it's only done good things for me. And that was just a big risk we had to take in the beginning.
I love it. All right, we're going to get into business. Before we do, I want to talk about you and Claire a little bit. Let's just start with this. First impressions, right? I mean, she made a big first impression with you. I think people have to make a big first impression in their professional life or in an interview or in their dating life. Yeah. How big of a role did the first impression play in like the entirety of the journey with you?
It's an odd story. Like, I'm in full honesty, full disclosure, Claire didn't really make as big of an impression on me as it may seem now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Her and my relationship was a very slow burn, which is kind of cool because, you know, it was a very short, rushed process, but ours kind of slowly became that way, which is more natural. But yeah, when I first met her and stuff, we do these things called OTFs after each date where we basically break down how it was to the camera.
Right.
What I said was, yeah, I think the date was a little dull. I don't think there was much to it. It's like, you know, we laugh about it now, and obviously she was not upset because I obviously do really much like her now. But yeah, but she made me a scarf. She knits.
A scarf? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she walked down with this scarf. I'm like, oh, boy, we're doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then sat down, and we just talked, and, you know, I, at the time, didn't think much of the conversation.
I think that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
How, like, especially as a single guy, I feel like in past relationships, it's like I go on the first date with that person and I'm like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
This is going to be my next significant other.
Yeah.
But for someone that like a slow burn, for my single people out there, like, come on, give me some insight. What the slow burn? I'm not a slow burn guy.
Yeah.
So like, talk to me about like, what am I missing here? Give things a chance longer than you expect.
Yeah, there's obviously, you have to have that initial attraction. Obviously, that's immediately what I saw with Claire. I thought she was beautiful. But in terms of like the personality stuff, like we go on this show, every girl in our group is attractive. So that's box is already checked. So the one thing I'm looking at is like personality. Can we get along? All this stuff. So when that really, on the first date, she was very nervous. So that really wasn't there. She already had the attractiveness. So I was like, well, we'll just give it a shot because it's an interesting scenario. We're on a TV show. Let's just see how this plays out. And sure enough, played out to everybody's benefit, or at least mine.
Yeah, I love it. It's awesome. Congratulations. You got to love it. Now I want to get a little bit into this like whole love and career like track that everyone battles with. I wrote a book about, but with Claire being in Chicago, you're in St. Louis. Like what do next steps look like? What do those conversations look like?
Yeah. I mean, the conversations are obviously tough because I've told her, you know, law school's tough on a relationship because, you know, majority of your time is focused on school. She seems to be doing very well in her work. You know, she's, I think, just got a recent promotion and stuff. So she's able to take the time off where she needs it. Just where I'm at in law school, I don't have that luxury.
Yeah.
So we've had those serious conversations and stuff. And I think a real benefit for us is being only 3.5, 4 hours away.
It's easy.
Yeah. So it's just a drive.
Okay. At this point, we know that she met your siblings. Have she met your parents yet?
She has.
Nice.
Yeah,
have you met her parents?
I have met her mom.
Okay.
And her sister.
And how did the parents meeting go?
It went well. We spent a couple hours together, and her mom and sister were both asking me some pretty hard-hitting questions and stuff like that. They asked me generally, what is the role of a woman in your life or something like that? And it took me a while to think because I was like, oh boy, I better not insult these people. So I think my answer was like, it's a missing link or something like that. And they seemed to like that.
You nailed that.
Yeah. When they were like, I like that, I was like,
but you don't catch me for a guy to get nervous.
I mean, I do.
You do?
Yeah, I guess I just covered up well. I mean, that first episode, walking out there with all those girls staring at you, and you got to basically do a speech, ad lib right in front of them.
Yep.
I was shaking in my boots.
I love it.
It's terrible.
I love it. We're going to get into that. Before we get into that, I got to ask you more about love and money.
Yeah.
Do you have a take on prenups?
I do have a take.
Let's hear it.
I'm Catholic. I was raised Catholic. I think matrimony and marriage is a very big sacrifice for people. I know there's a way to work problems out, no matter how bad or deep they may be. So I think a prenup is kind of like a way out. And I think that defeats the entire purpose of like that union.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Not a fan of them.
I always like to hear different perspectives on it. So there's love meets money. And that's an interesting take here from John Sansone. All right, let's get into the show. They reach out to you via a DM. You're thinking an opportunity could come from this, and opportunities have come from this, and we'll talk about that. But I'm always curious about the interview process. With The Bachelor, it's like a wild, Bachelor, Bachelorette, a whole different wild process. And then other different shows that I've casted for, it's always night and day. So what was the most obscure thing in the interview process?
I don't know. Most of it seemed pretty uniform. I guess the weirdest thing I had to do was basically walk around my entire property because the property is a big thing for them and point things out. I mean, I was like holding a camera up like this, just walking around like, here's the so-and-so, here's we can do this and that. And then also the executives flew out to see the farm.
Stop.
Yeah. So they had to fly out to actually view the farm because obviously in my video it was my house in St. Louis.
Yeah.
So they flew out and we took a trip down to New Hamburg, Missouri. And they walked around the farm and got pictures and all this stuff.
Interesting.
Pretty crazy.
Did you have any crazy interview questions or curveballs that threw you?
Some of the things that threw me when they were asking about my preferences on women.
Yeah.
It was basically build a wife, which was really weird.
I heard you say that in Kristen's podcast.
And they were basically asking me what's your preferences on weight, hair color, race, personality, all this stuff. And I was like, you kind of feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because, everybody's got these preferences, but you just kind of keep them to yourself. So actually voicing them, especially to a female casting
of
person,
course.
just seems a little uncomfortable.
For whatever your build a wife was, do you think they casted? Because every time you talk to production, you're always thinking two things. One, this is going to work for me, or two, this is going to work against me. Did you feel like what you suggested is what came for your group?
Very much so.
Okay, so
I think they killed it.
Okay, they killed it. Okay. Speaking of your cast, I got to at least bring it up. It went viral. Everybody's brought it up to you. I'm sure you're annoyed talking about it, but the whole Samantha kiss situation, right? So and I heard you talk a little bit on the podcast, but you had a pretty good feeling that the tension was there, and there was definitely some chemistry, and maybe you're even led on a little bit to believe okay, this is the time. Now, as someone, I want to defend you a little bit, someone who's had to kiss on TV, especially the first couple times to do it, it's terrifying.
Awful.
Right? I mean, you think about just going on a date.
Yeah.
And you go on a date and you're vibing, making the move towards a first kiss is always, majority of the time you have a lot of confidence in doing it because you're not going to do it otherwise if there's not chemistry. But it's always your heart's moving a little bit, right? Then you got to do it on TV with producers there and cameras watching you. Then you're led to believe that this is a good moment, and bam, you get hit with the curveball upper hook. I'm not doing this.
Knock my teeth out.
So looking back on it now, you came out, you're in a happy relationship with Claire, but just looking back on it, taking some time, letting it digest. What do you make of that situation? Give me your take.
My take is that it was the best thing to happen for the show.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's tough for me It was tough for me at the time. Now I don't really give two damns about it, but I mean, it's what every random obscure Instagram account, TikTok account clipped and posted. And that's what people saw. That's what got people hooked. So if that's to my detriment, fine. I took that risk going out on TV show, but all in all, I think it benefited the TV show in total and therefore benefited the cast.
Yeah. You handled it extremely well. I think it was a massive moment for the show. I think you handled. You don't think
on
you
screen?
Yeah.
Well,
off screen you didn't. Well, I mean,
yes.
what would you have done different knowing what you know now?
Sent her home immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would have been the best approach. No, but off screen, it was a different reaction.
That's true.
Yeah, I got a little
That's
irritated.
True. Yeah. That's true. All right. Well, my take. I'm gonna give you my.
Yeah,
take.
let's hear it.
My take is no one in the world ever, especially when it comes to physical intimacy, should ever do anything that they don't feel comfortable. Period. End of story. Put your foot down, stand strong, and do what you got to do.
Yep.
But in this situation, what threw me is the explanation, because it felt as though like the intention was that there was a desire for her to kiss you, and the chemistry was there for her to kiss you. And what completely threw me was the context of why. Like, if you're going on a reality TV dating show, how do you possibly expect to leave the show with a boyfriend, given age, experience, and life, without being at least open to a kiss when physical chemistry is there, communication is there, all the things are moving? What was the expectation? Why even go? Why even go on the show?
Well, I think just you're exactly right, and that alone raised a lot. It just raised a plethora of questions about intentions, expectations, and goals for being on the show. And I told you from the beginning of this, my number one goal was like opportunities.
Sure,
but I also was
I love that you're honest.
I'll
about
still
it too.
take. I would love to get a girlfriend out of this because it's a fun opportunity. It's not like I'm desperately needing a girlfriend, but where I kind of kept it, bottled up. I kept those goals kind of to myself.
Yeah.
Whereas I think with that situation, it may have revealed a little too much about her intentions.
Interesting. Okay. Good stuff. Now we're going to get into business and what is next for you. Before we do that, just looking back at your entire season, like, what do you think has been, you talked about a career and opportunity. You stepped into a profession. Reality TV, especially as a lead, is a profession. It's one that you stepped into. What was the biggest discrepancy from what expectation was in reality TV versus what it actually is?
I think it was, this is a very easy answer. I think it was the amount of actual work and effort that goes into making something of it. Because a lot of people, past seasons and this season, a lot of people just expect for it to come to you. Just going on TV is enough. But you actually have to put forth a lot of effort and work, and you basically, it's a full-time job to actually make this worth your while.
Well, as a full-time job, are you compensated to be on the show?
Yeah, initially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Care to share?
I can't.
You can't share.
That's
okay.
That's very much against the contract.
Let me just do this though. I'm going to say it's less than $50,000. Yeah. Okay. That's all. I'm going to stop there. Yeah. That's it. Okay. Know. We'll stop there. You don't know. Could be, could not be. But the upside, I think, is going to be, it's going to be good for you. You're big on, it feels like every time I go on TikTok, you're trending on TikTok, you're kicking ass on Instagram. Professionally, now seeing what you've seen, you've walked a couple red carpets now. You're starting to become what is called like a reality TV star and content creator. What do you think it looks like now?
Well, I'm out of my comfort zone. I'll tell you that. This is insane to me still.
What is out? Where are you out of your comfort zone?
Walking red carpets. I'm brushing shoulders with Alan Jackson and SZA, and I'm talking to Benson Boone and stuff. I'm like,
that's cool.
When in a million years would I expect to be doing something like this?
Yeah. So like when you get a taste of that, is your initial reaction like, I want more of this, I'm going to stay in the game? Or are you still thinking, I want to go back to law school and possibly the pharma route?
No, hell no. The more that comes, the more drive it fuels
to keep doing this.
Yeah. Because it's fun.
Yeah.
And it's extremely profitable if you can actually harness it.
In a perfect world, you're never working on that farm again and you're not an attorney. Is that the perfect world?
Perfect world is I still get my law degree. That's
okay. So you want to knock
quitting
that out.
law school is out of the question.
Okay.
Put in too much time and effort.
How are you 2L, 3L? Where are you at?
I'm like 2.5, or I'm like 1.5 L.
Okay. So about halfway
December
through
2026 is when I graduate.
Okay. Would you ever go from full-time law school to part-time law school so you could focus on this
100%.
career track?
Yeah.
Is that what you think you're going to do?
Depends on how well I do in the next few months.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's definitely a possibility. Although a lot of things that people tell me, especially at WashU, is that like 2L year and 3L year is more
tough,
easy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think 1L year is the toughest because
interesting.
You got all these doctrinal courses and it's brand new to you, but you have more control over what you take 2L and 3L.
Okay.
So I might be able to get by. But yeah, it's like full steam ahead at this point.
Okay. All right. Full steam ahead. Mm-hmm. How have you been able to monetize yet off your social media?
I've definitely been approached by brands and then, just, I don't know about you, but like this is all new to me. So when I see like brand deals coming in and stuff like that, it takes a lot longer than I expected to actually get to a point where you're making a deal.
Yeah.
It's the initial invitation and then it's like, okay, well, let me connect you.
Are you negotiating your own deals right now?
I have a guy helping me a little bit, but for the most part, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. By the way.
Well, I'm in law school. I might as well use it,
Yeah, I know, but you need to separate. Like, I own an agency and I still don't negotiate my own deals because you need a separation of talent and like church and state, like talent and actual person that's negotiating, because they're putting you on a pedestal and they want to pay you.
Yeah.
In the smallest conversations, like, in legal, like and or but or it's like you can't be the guy doing that. You have to have someone doing that. And usually the value that person serves in being kind of hard-nosed to get you what you need and what you want ends up paying for itself within the negotiation process. But I do agree with you. Like when you're getting a brand deal, if a brand reaches out to you today, there's so many phases that happen before you actually get paid, right? Yeah. So you got to negotiate the deal. Then it's the creating brief. Then it's the execution of the deal. And now some of the companies are putting 30, 60, 90-day payment terms on there. So you might not get your first check for another 120, 100, 150, 180 days.
Yeah, that was the one thing I saw in like one of the contracts that was presented to me, and I immediately redlined that. I said, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
You can't just pay me 95 days
later.
Oh,
that's crazy. Yeah,
that's
don't do 90 days. Yeah, I would say 60 days max.
Yeah. Well,
absolute max.
I said 30.
And you could also do like payments up front too. So 50% on signing, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So think about this though. Like, so have you been able to make, like, as of now, have you been able to do deals? Like, are you doing deals right now?
Very few.
Okay.
Very few.
Okay.
And not enough to really call it a profit.
Give me a rough around of how much you've done in deals.
You're going to laugh.
Okay.
About 3,200.
Okay, we gotta talk. Okay, we'll get, especially when the iron's hot. You gotta strike here.
Exactly.
All right, and then
I honestly, I gotta just say this because I gotta stay humble as much as I can, but it's my fault, quite frankly. Like I'm not gonna say who, but a brand approached me.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, this is insane. I can't believe this brand's reaching out to me. So I went on ChatGPT and I'm like, here's my followers, here's my engagement. How much do you think I should charge? And they said, 1,700. I was like, that's a lot of money.
Interesting.
So I charged that, and then I found out later on I could have been charging 18, 20K.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think you missed a zero because the two factors ChatGPT can't get is they can't get your relevancy, they can't get PR power, they can't get community, they can't get your ability to trend, which is hot right now, connection to a live show, all those things, media power, all that
Still
stuff.
learning.
You know what? You're gonna get there. I'm here to help if you ever need it. Let's talk about this, man. Everyone wants to know, like, is this guy a farmer or what? So I have a million farmer questions here on soy, corn, wheat farming. I know your family, it says 170 acres, 5th generation. Like, can we get into the weeds on futures and all this stuff with farming? Like, what's your expertise in the farming space?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just give it to you straight up, and which is exactly what I did with the executives over at Fox, and this is exactly what I did on the first episode. I'm enough of a farmer for them to cast me on the show. But in reality, my grandfather is still living on our family farm that's been our family for 5 generations. His great-grandfather came over from Germany, settled in this area called New Hamburg, Missouri.
Wow.
There's a lot of German immigrants. And they have 170 acres of row crops, corn, wheat, soybean. And they've been farming it for that long. We go out there all the time. My mom was raised on that farm, so she has it in her blood. That's a little more than I do. And we go out there and help as much as we can. But in terms of like actually jumping into a tractor and going up and down these fields and harvesting and planting and spraying stuff, I don't do any of that.
Interesting.
Yet.
Okay.
I'm very much would like to down the line. I'm very much opening to learning. But if people come up to me and start asking me about like the, chemical makeup of a soybean or something like that, I'm like, I have no idea, guys.
No idea about that. Do you naturally find an interest in it?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. That's like, the farm was my happy place. I loved going down there. And I love spending as much time as I can down there. And, like that type of work, that physical labor, that dealing with the land, I feel like is very fulfilling.
Yeah.
And I've seen how happy it's made my grandfather and how happy it's made my mom's side of the family. And I'd like to be a part of that.
Is there anyone, so obviously your grandfather still lives on the farm. Is there anyone from your mother's side of the family that's very much involved? Or they all
so my mom comes from 4 girls, 1 boy.
Okay.
The boy still lives on the farm on a separate house.
Interesting.
So there's 2 houses on the farm, my grandparents, and then his wife and children.
Okay.
So the farm will go to him. He'll inherit it. Because that's my grandfather's son. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to have mine down the line.
Okay.
Not this one, but maybe a separate one close by or in a different state. But I really do want to live that lifestyle down the line.
Okay. When you think about like, just obviously you've seen your family's financial success, or at least your aunts and uncle, and then you see your grandfather's success. If you had to guess, like either within the family or not, like I just have how much farmers make? Like, do farmers make a good living? Do they make an insane living? Do they make a slit? Like how would you generalize that with what you do know?
I think just based on seeing people and how they live and like hearing, like other guys on the show are legitimate hands-on farmers. So I hear from them too. I think farmers today are just getting by.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Huh. My grandfather's doing very well because he had a career in banking. So he was like providing loans to the people in the area and stuff. And cool story, actually, we were at one of these events and my grandfather's in a wheelchair now. And this younger gentleman came up and was like shaking his hand saying, good to see you again, Larry, and all this stuff. It's like really appreciative of what you did. Apparently my grandfather had given a shot to this guy while he was banking and given him a loan.
Oh, wow.
Ended up buying some land and becoming very successful, but by no means should he have given him that based on his, portfolio at the time. So
that's really cool about your grandfather's story, but your grandfather actually wasn't the farmer. Did he have a partner who was like the farmer?
He had a major hand in how it was run.
Okay.
But his buddy down there, Randy, is the one who like basically has this conglomerate over all the properties in the area. He'll like bring his equipment down because that stuff's expensive.
Yeah.
So he has it and he harvests and he brings, the stuff to the grain bins and all that type of stuff. So.
Yeah. Crazy. The farmer life, man, it's different.
Very different.
It's very
opposite. Cool though.
Yeah, it is cool. What is behind the scenes, just having family ties to it, even though you're not in the weeds on it? Like, what's one thing about the business we probably wouldn't know unless we heard it from someone that's got kind of a look into it?
I guess one of the things that I asked my grandfather about recently, because I never really thought about it, but I was like, where does all this stuff go once it's harvested? And it goes to these things called grain elevators in the area where like all the farms in the area bring their grain and they basically weigh it and pay them there. And then it goes to these barges on the Mississippi River and goes down to Biloxi, Mississippi, and then gets on shipping containers and stuff like that and goes all over.
Interesting.
So a little, piece of corn on my grandfather's property could end up, in a completely different part of the world.
Which
is
wild.
Really neat.
That is wild.
Yeah.
All right. For all my farm experts out there, we're going to come back. You're going to have to, here's the thing though, because you're not a farm expert, you're going to be in charge of getting me a farm expert on this podcast.
Done.
We got a deal?
I got you one.
All right. We got a deal.
One already.
All right. You already got me one. All right. Then another thing I got to ask you about life after the show. Farming, not in your close future, maybe down the road. Influencing, creating, whatever opportunities come from this, that's obviously on the forefront. Reality TV. Would you go into reality TV again if you were asked? And if so, like what would be your dream show to go on?
Well, dream show is Alone. You ever seen that one on History Channel?
Oh, yeah. Oh, Alone's crazy.
Crazy.
Wait, you could do that?
I'd like to think that I can.
I don't know. For anyone that doesn't know Alone, I used to binge this show all the time.
It's a binge-worthy show.
You get like some of the smartest people in the world, and you'd have to survive out in the wilderness, but like legit survival. Like you're giving next to nothing.
Yeah.
You hunt everything, you build your own homes, you have to mentally stick with it.
Yep.
And some of these people go like 120, 150, 180 days.
Yeah.
Do you have that in you? Like, can you build homes?
I like to think that I
hunt
can.
and all this stuff? Like,
I love hunting.
Yeah.
I grew up loving Man versus Wild.
Yeah.
I mean, that was my thing. So I was always out there building forts, trying to camp out with nothing, you know, making fires from scratch, cooking eggs over a, you know, couple branches that were on fire. And I like to think that I can, you know, but we'll see. I mean,
maybe
but it is, that show is, I mean, you talking about a survival show, that is the survival show.
It is
they
the
give them
survival
a big
show.
thing of cameras.
Yeah.
Here's some batteries, here's some cameras. You guys stay as long as you can. You outlast the other people, but you don't know when the others go away.
You're an extreme dude. Like, why not Survivor? Why not like Big Brother? You want to go
I would do
right.
Survivor.
You want to go right for the weeds.
I would do Survivor.
Yeah,
definitely.
Have you been approached to do another show?
Before this one, yeah.
Okay.
But not since.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What shows were you approached before this one?
Big Brother.
Okay.
Summer House.
You were approached to do Summer House?
Yeah.
What
I just
the
didn't
hell?
know what it was.
How did they find you?
Instagram.
No way.
Yeah.
And you said no?
Yeah, I said no.
Why?
Because reality TV to me at the time, I don't want to subject myself to like scrutiny to the point that reality TV stars get a lot. So when this show came along, Farmer Wants a Wife, my family had already been watching the first 2 seasons and we're like, you know, of all the reality TV shows, we think this is the safest bet in terms of your concerns. So that makes sense because, you know, they don't have an interest in making the farmers look bad. That's what I was worried about.
Gotcha. Have you ever watched Summer House?
No.
Do you know any of the characters on or cast on Summer House?
I think, you had one of the...
Yeah. Kyle Cook's been on. A bunch of Jesse Solomon's been on.
Yeah.
Wes has been on.
I know Wes through my cousin Stefan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I actually talked to him about this whole thing because, you know, he'd been through the reality stage before.
Yeah.
So I know Wes, but I've never really seen the show. I don't know what it's about.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think you'd be great on that show. put a farmer in the middle of the Hamptons. Unbelievable TV.
Sounds great.
Why'd you say no to Big Brother?
I didn't know what it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're just like, it's not fit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Naked and Afraid also approached me. You can imagine why I
Naked
said
and
no
Afraid.
to that one.
Yeah, that seems like an easy no. So they've been looking, reality TV's been looking at you for a while now.
Yeah,
and here you
so.
go. You found your shot.
Found my shot.
What has been the craziest thing from like your community or just like that you've seen from the people? Like, how has your life changed? This essentially is what I'm curious. How has it actually changed?
Luckily at home, it hasn't changed at all.
At all?
The people in St. Louis, I think, are the ones who are giving me the most blowback and the most scrutiny, which is kind of funny because like I literally see you in the Schnucks or something. It's like, you're going to say that to me?
Wait, what's the Schnucks?
It's like a grocery store.
Oh,
like, I don't know.
okay.
Does Nashville have, what's their grocery store? Kroger.
Kroger, yeah.
So St. Louis is his Schnucks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But it's like, I'll see you on the street.
Yeah.
But anyways, I digress.
Do farmers like, I don't know shit about farmers. Like, do you guys throw down like that? Like if a farmer, is that how you guys settle things?
I mean, I don't
go
want
to
to
the
like
farm
keep
and just
calling me
drop
a
the
farmer,
mints.
but like, you know.
Actually, you're not a farmer. You're right.
But I mean,
Is there any part of you that's a farmer?
it's in my blood.
It's in your blood.
It's in my blood.
All right,
my mother was born and raised on that farm and only, you know, left when she got married to my dad.
Okay.
So
How many how many hours in your life have you spent on the farm?
on that farm, I can't. Hours is too small. We're trying here, but I'd say
Days?
a couple years.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
We spend a lot of time.
You got some blood,
I'm
sweat.
26.
All
You know, I've been out
okay.
there all the time.
Okay, gotcha. Have you like is another? I'm just going off the cuff here. As far as facial hair goes, have you always done the mustache?
No.
Oh, this is new.
Yeah, it's fairly new.
You think you'll ever
Last
get rid of
couple
it?
years. I can't now.
No, it's your brand,
Yeah, it's
dude.
brand.
You're stuck on there. That thing's glued on.
I'd like
tight.
to.
Yeah.
Because it's really a pain in the ass, but no, I think it's going to stick around.
I love it. Okay, talk to me about like what is the dream. So I know you want to make some money. You want to move in this direction. But a lot of people that listen to these shows are often curious how people are going to navigate it, and they love to see like kind of like we've had a lot of people come on like a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. Like in a year from now, like what are products you want to do? What are things you really want to pursue? Like what does it look like?
Well, that's the thing that I, am trying to look for right now is, I don't know how to navigate this industry very well. So I'm trying to talk to people that do so that they can give me an idea of what my potential is, what I should be pursuing. But on a small scale level, I can't really speak for like a year from now, but on a small scale level, I definitely plan on starting a YouTube channel.
Okay, cool.
Where, I get a lot of comments about my voice and stuff. I'll probably do like, read bedtime stories or some stupid stuff like that to a microphone. And like, if brands want to sponsor it, I can like put like a stack of Oreos on a table next to me while I'm reading a book or something like that. That was one of the ideas I pitched, and the people I've spoken to loved it. So we'll see. I'll probably go with that.
I think, call me crazy, I think you're going to continue to be on TV because I think you make good TV.
I mean, I wouldn't be opposed, to be
but you also make good TikToks. When you come up with these TikToks, are they all your ideas?
Yeah, for the most part. At the beginning, a couple of them were from my sisters, and Claire also helped me with a few. But yeah, for the most part, I got to spend a lot of time scrolling, which is tough on law school to like think of an idea.
Are you like this moment right now, you and Claire, you're together, you got all your social media. Are you currently in class?
No, today I'm on summer break.
Okay.
Yeah. So
you start back when? In September?
August.
Yeah, and late August. Is like one of your goals then to by August kind of have to kick classes because you're so busy with all this stuff?
Ideally. I haven't really picked out my classes for next semester yet, but I'm going to with the idea that I'm going to be very busy. So I'll probably make it like really spread out.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. That's the luxury of being a 2L and 3L.
That's the luxury. Yeah. All right. Well, I do have some questions from the Money Mafia. I am going to just rattle them off here. So I'm surprised they said this. I don't know. They must not watch the show, but they said, "Are you a man of faith?"
Yes.
So you're very vocal about that.
Yes, sir.
Exactly. All right. So this question: when does he plan on moving out of his parents' place?
As soon as I get some traction on this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So build up a couple bucks.
And
then you'll be there.
Yeah.
Do you have, if I give you 1 year from now, you're on this podcast in 1 year, how much money do you want to make off social media? Or how much do you think you can make 1 year?
How much do I want to make over, six figures?
Okay.
How much do I think I could make? Probably that, but like a little, maybe 70.
Okay. This person asked from the Money Mafia, and I think it's a great question after all of this. And we know that you have a significant other now, but like, do you think your happiness levels are higher now or higher before you got into the mayhem of this world?
Higher now.
By a long shot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you worry at all about the fallout?
Not really. No.
Okay.
Because I guess are you talking about in terms of like
just like the fall, like you're in the wave of like the amazing high, just like what the negativity that can come with this, the change, all that.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to take every step that I can now to mitigate that as much as possible. Like I know this thing's going to burn out. It just is. Mm-hmm. But I'm trying to make the most of it now so that it doesn't.
Do you want kids?
100%.
How many and what age do you think you'll be married by with kids, if you had to guess?
Everybody hates it. Girls hate that I say this, but 6. I want 6.
6?
Yeah. Well, I'm from a family. I come from 6.
Wow.
Yeah. So I loved having a big family. They were my posse.
Yeah.
So
unbelievable.
Built-in best friends.
All right. This is a tough one. This is from a fan. How bad does he regret fumbling Shan?
Shan.
That's what I said, because I don't think you had a Shan. Okay, edit that out, John. that money mafia does not. Oh my God, dude!
Oh Jesus!
I wonder if they confused you, Gurney. Shannon.
Do you know a Shannon?
Shannon Ford. Oh. You got to be kidding me.
Oh my God.
This is officially a moment. And this is officially a moment. John for Farmer's Wife. I love that they thought that you were you guys do look alike. You got farm in your blood?
He's got the blue eyes. If you do the stash out.
You do have blue eyes. And you got a country.
Didn't they ask
you worked
to go
on his farm?
The request yesterday for the show.
Wait, what?
The casting director just hit me up about being on the next one.
John Gurney got hit up. We got breaking news everywhere. John Gurney is getting casted to be on this show.
Yep.
Oh my God. John, we'll do a whole podcast on farmers while he's on.
And then you're a farmer.
He is
Farmer
a
John
farmer.
Again.
All right. We already got your thoughts on a prenup, the day-to-day of the business. We got that. It's a random one. What's your favorite ice cream flavor from the Money Mafia?
Pralines and cream.
Okay.
Yeah.
This person asked, what is your favorite tractor brand?
Yeah. Having fun with me there.
No, they did.
Holland.
Holland.
Yeah,
okay.
New Holland.
All right, that's pretty good. Then this person said, no question. I just want him to come over for family dinner and hang out. Well, that is nice.
Done. Send me the address.
There you go. They should do do you guys remember that one dating show? It was Joe Millionaire, and you had to figure out if the guy was just an average Joe or he was a millionaire. They should do a show like farmers, like, are they actually a farmer or not? And you got to figure it out.
Yeah, I think they saw through me pretty quick.
They saw through you pretty quick. When you think about, I want to wrap with some of the stuff with you and Claire. When you think about just like learning lessons as you're going through a new dating experience, what do you got for us? Trading secrets.
Communication. I mean, everybody says it, but communication is absolutely everything, especially us. We're navigating this very new frontier. We don't know what we're being faced with. Basically, there's the entertainment, what people see, and then there's what me and Claire have.
Well, yeah.
And they don't see everything. So
and I like that you're keeping some things private. Like I said, do you love her? And you're like, that's between us.
That's between,
I like that.
And, it's tough for her to navigate. And it's tough for me to navigate, but we constantly communicate and tell each other how we're feeling about certain things. And that's how we get through it.
Does she want to be in this space as far as like the entertainment space?
Yeah, luckily that's another reason why I, picked Claire too, is because her and I seem to just have the same mindset going in. And then ultimately at the end, we actually ended up liking each other. Wow. So it just kind of all worked out perfectly.
Maybe you two will have a podcast together.
We'll see.
Wow.
First guest.
All right. First guest. I would love to do it. So has the farmer met his wife?
We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. All right. I love it. Well, we got to wrap with a trading secret. So it's something that's unique to your very unique experience.
Okay.
It could be anything. It could be a life motto. It could be a financial trading secret, life trading secret, professional trading secret, just something that is unique to John Sansone's interesting journey, especially the last year. What can you leave us with?
Yeah. I thought about this when I listened to the episode on the way here. But I think I would say is my whole philosophy on like going through stuff like this and big changes in your life and risks and stuff like that is as long as you like trust in whether it be your faith, your gut, or just being moral. Yeah. If you consider those in the decisions that you make, it's all going to work out. And it kind of gives you this sense of comfort in mistakes. It gives you this sense of comfort in failure. It's like, it's going to work out. Just let it play out. But you have to be able to make the right calls.
Yeah, that's so true, because I feel like when it doesn't work out, it's hard to think about letting it play out, because you're just, it's like, what the hell? This isn't, but exactly what you said. When your foundation's strong, when you know yourself better than anyone, you know your intention, your character, your integrity, eventually, and however it will always play out the way it should. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think I always like to say, like, what is my trading secret? I think my trading secret from you, John, is just like, you're so authentically yourself that you just like, listen, this is who I am. This is what it is. This is the truth. I feel like when I ask you a question, there's not like anything in your brain or filter that goes through any type of like thinking of like, how do I answer this? You're just, this is the answer. This is exactly who I am. This is what I feel. That's not where I am now, but this is where I want to be. She wants to be in this career. That's actually what I liked about it. Our first impression wasn't great, but we slow burned. And when you do that, so many people can connect to you. You know what I mean? Because you're expressing things that maybe some people don't feel comfortable saying because they're afraid of being judged or mislabeled or whatever. But actually, when you do that, you encourage others to open up. So that's my trading secret.
Good. Yeah, exactly. And just one more comment on that. It's exactly what people see in shows and on social media. Yeah. You can have everything that everybody wants, but if it's not you, they're going to see right through it. I don't know how they do it, but people see it.
The eye is sharp these days. Yeah. And if, like, to your point about this trading secret, if they don't see it now, they're going to see it.
They're going to see it.
They're going to see it. That is for sure. All right, man. When you hit 100K plus in social media, you're coming back here, the YouTube video with Oreos doing ASMR, whatever the hell you're doing, you're coming back to tell that story in a year from now. Perfect. Congrats on you and Claire. Where can everyone find everything you have going on?
Not John Sansone is the two socials, and then the YouTube channel. We're still thinking of a name.
Okay, I love that. In a year from now, we're going to have a laundry list when I ask that question. Farmer John, thank you so much for being on Trading Secrets.
Thank you.